Have you ever felt like God had a different direction for your life? It can drive you crazy sometimes trying to figure out what you're supposed to do next. Amanda and I recently had a very unexpected transition occur in our lives.
Absolutely. Before we get into telling you about that, due to this transition, we absolutely were very aware that we were completely MIA for our videos for most of the last half of last year.
Yeah.
And so we are excited to be revving back up.
That's right.
We do have a little bit of delay in the beginning, but we have an intimacy series coming up next this February we're super excited about. And we appreciate every one of you that hang out with us here, and we're excited to be more active on YouTube again.
So we want to share how God speaks, how He spoke to us in this transition, and how He can speak to you today.
Yeah.
So the beginning of the pandemic, we were church planters. And specifically, we planted a church in September of 2020.
Right. Completely online, obviously, as it was in the middle of the pandemic.
Absolutely, right in the middle of the pandemic. And we were very excited to reach a multicultural, multi-economic, multi-generational audience, because that is the vision that God had placed inside of my heart, man, almost 2010, yeah, like almost 22 years ago. And we were horse blinders
22 years? Well, that doesn't make sense.
It was 22,
Yeah,
it is 12 years ago. Anyway, we were horse blinders on, just full steam ahead, planning that church because we felt that that was what God was wanting us to do.
It's the only thing we've had our eyes on. I mean, like, horse blinders is the best way I can say it, because everything that we did, although it took us 10 years, every one of those steps in that journey for us was to get to this point to plant the church.
That's right.
We went through a variety of jobs to pay off debt so that we could raise money for the church. We went through working under churches so that we planted another extension campus, like all these things that in our brain was getting us to this point.
So at the very beginning of last year, 2021, however, I felt like in a journal time, God gave me a very specific word. And it said, I am doing a new thing in you. And when I shared it with Amanda, we were excited because we felt like...
We're going to be a new church plant.
Yes.
We're a different kind of church plant.
That's right. that it was going to be unique because we were going to have this physical presence and we were going to have this online presence simultaneously. But I have to be very honest with you. As time went by, there was just this disquiet in our spirit.
Yeah, and I think that's something that you'll feel sometimes when God is speaking to you. It's almost like you're just kind of uneasy, just unsettled. And it's not that like, it's not like a place that we were unhappy or uncomfortable in that sense, but it was just like the spirit just felt unsettled. It just didn't feel complete peace in every step that we took. And that was just kind of the beginning of God speaking to us, that He actually was transitioning us into, literally, as God had said, something new. Not how we interpreted His word, but literally something new.
And I think the step one for us was to listen to God in that moment so that we could really check our spirit, like, is something really happening here? And I think the second step for us was we had to talk about it together. And are you feeling
and we
the
did
same?
A lot.
Yeah, we did. Are you feeling the same way that I am?
Right.
And she was, and I was.
If you don't have a spouse, being able just to talk to anyone. So basically, kind of how therapy kind of sheds a light on the past and that kind of thing, that's very similar to when you're talking with someone about what you're going through. You're getting it out of just kind of that internal place.
That's right.
You're shining a light on it, and God can work with it. And so with a trusted individual, your spouse, your parents, friends, family, whoever that you feel safe with, being able to share just how you're feeling and what you're thinking. Obviously, you're still sharing with the Lord, but there's also this value in getting it out in the light, or journaling it, really being able to tangibly see, gosh, something's going on in my spirit.
Yeah, it can also help you clarify what questions you're supposed to be asking God.
Yeah.
And then the last thing that we did is we took it before our spiritual authorities. Yeah. We had some mentors in our lives that we really trusted, and we knew that they loved us. And so when we shared with them that we're just feeling unsettled about some things, they prayed about it, they thought about it, and they came back to us and said something that we really weren't expecting. Yeah. And that was, Andrew and Amanda, you guys need to just go do what you're anointed to do.
Yeah, and I have to say my first reaction to that was, to be honest, almost, get behind me, Satan. My blinders are on. This is the direction we are going. This is what God wants us to do. And there was a freeingness in what they were sharing, but also freaked out, just kind of like, what? But I'm so horse blinders on, and I think what was so interesting is that we then had to call another mentor, another spiritual
Yeah.
father, and share, this is what's going on. Is this in line with what, and he told us, I believe that he's heard from God. I believe, and I'm like, it was just mind blown, because again, we believed we were stepping God's steps exactly.
That's right.
And so when God literally changed our direction, transitioned us, changed our season, it was so overwhelming. And so basically in this transition, God wants us to continually dive into creating an online ministry, creating a ministry, Andrew and Amanda Scott Ministries. And our church plant, in the official words, which I don't love, is closing Assembly Church. So we closed Assembly Church last year.
We did.
And there was a lot of grieving in that. There was a lot of heartache, because I made a logo.
Yeah.
I mean, this was a vision that we had.
You did more than that. You made a website.
I made a lot of stuff.
We made T-shirts.
Yeah.
I have a cup with it on it.
Right. Like this was our vision. And I really sat with our leaders, and I'm like, oh my gosh, the word close. And they were like, that's a business term. You are expanding. And so for us, although it wasn't the vision we were literally walking into, seeing God open up and expand our vision was actually bigger, because when we first saw this vision in 2010, we're a little bit older than some of the young kids. Like we were barely on Facebook. We were barely on social ministry. And if he had said, like, I want you to spread the gospel through social ministry, we would have had no idea what he was talking about. And so through this transition and understanding that these were the steps that God wanted us to take, and Assembly Church did amazing things in 2020. We were able to serve so many people, food, convoy of hope. So we know that God had us in that position in that season. But we were open enough to hear from God to transition into this new season. And even though we grieved, and even though it hurt our hearts to be like, but Lord, I'm so confused.
We felt like
we're
failures.
Excited.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, we did.
But having those mentors speak over us, having God really get into our spirit and say, you're not a failure because you're expanding. That was the word that we really held on to.
Us, just following and listening to the Lord. And there's lots of times that doing things with following the Lord doesn't make sense and doesn't look publicly pleasing to people.
That's right.
But it's all that matters to us is that we are going the direction that God has us go.
Now we look back at it, and it's kind of funny, because we're like, oh, you meant you're doing a new thing in our lives.
I see. Yeah. So it's been a big transition for us last year. We've transitioned out. We've actually basically are now signing up as almost in a sense U.S. missionaries.
That's right.
And so we're starting to raise funds. We're starting to kind of get back in the swing of things. As I mentioned, we're doing an intimacy course. We're going to start that coming up in February. It may take a little bit of our attention, so we may not be quite as active as we like while we're raising funds. But we are really excited to get to the place where we are with you guys on YouTube. We're hanging on Instagram, TikTok, trying to get more social so that we can spread the gospel.
That's right.
We want to be able to share what God's design is and God's a godly mindset. Whether that's in the bedroom or outside. We want to be able to help you just to live your life in such a way that is honoring to God. And use basically my therapy skills and Andrew's pastor skills. And we just could not be more excited for this transition. So we would love it if you would help us out. Hit the subscribe button.
Ring that notification bell.
Yeah. And follow us on Instagram. I'm lonely over there. So help us out. And we cannot wait to see you in the next one.
We love you.
All right, guys.
Bye.
Bye.